time to find out what really happened between LIEnette and her grandson Landon. We've got the cop calls.
Yes.
Sergeant Kinnick, what can I help you with?
So I have problems going on with my grandmother right now. As you know, LIEnette Preston, she's been calling already.
Sergeant Kinnick, does this ring a bell?
It so rings a bell. Remember, Sergeant Kinnick is the one who started the investigation. He is also the same sergeant that arrested John Crook for brandishing a firearm on an 8-year-old.
Now he's talking to Landon, the grandson, calling the Levy County Sheriff on his grandma.
And Landon identified his grandma as
LIEnette
Preston.
Oh, so that's her name. Remember, video doesn't lie.
She started this morning, which has already been going on for about a week now, that we're getting plane tickets out of here. We're leaving because she wants us gone. She tried, there's been multiple instances already where she's tried to kick us out of her car on the side of the road.
This is a pattern for LIEnette. She's done this in the past, right?
It's like deja vu when her biological daughter, Michelle...
Oh, the real Michelle Preston.
Legal first name,
Okay.
Government name, Michelle Preston. She did the exact same thing where she kicked her out of her vehicle and left her stranded in Chiefland.
And gloated about it on Facebook. That's the insane part of it. And now to her biological grandson. My fear is, when is this going to happen to her not biological daughter with a life-threatening condition? I'm pretty sure trying to push somebody out of a moving vehicle, that's life-threatening.
Well, it also makes me wonder, how many times has she threatened to kick John out of the vehicle for being so abusive?
And she said, and I said, I'm not doing it with her crazy bipolar bullshit.
This is sounding like an official diagnosis that Landon must have some information on.
Her own grandson is stating that she is bipolar.
Okay, and you're going to see that everything he says to the officer aligns exactly what he said to us. And yet LIEnette is out there on the internet trying to claim that there were no issues, which you're going to hear her conversation with this officer as well, which will blow your mind.
She's now saying that I guess we're threatening her and her 4-year-old daughter, and she's getting us kicked off the property today. She physically cannot. I mean, I know that at least I have, 3 days. She can get a 3-day eviction because I've been on her property longer than, I've been on here 2 months, going on 3, and I've already had mail sent to this property.
Here we see another pattern.
Continued pattern.
If she doesn't get what she wants from somebody, it's all of a sudden, it's a threat against a child, typically a horrific threat. Now, there are many out there right now, George, making threats about me, about you, our families, our circumstances, is the whole deal. Now, you have to understand, none of this is based in reality or truth. Video doesn't lie. You're seeing the video. And those that are out there saying things about us, they're just continuing to further create legal liability for themselves. And you go, well, why haven't you done something yet? Well, if somebody's digging a hole for themselves, kind of smart to let them keep on digging. So we'll bring up one specific incident, okay? So there's many, but we can talk about, there are now allegations that I embezzled from a previous employer. Okay, so here's the insanity in this, all right? Number one, everything is public documents with a 501c3. Financials. So if embezzlement happened, it would be within the financials. You can request, and legally, they must provide you all financial information for any 501c3. Come to think of it, is there a 501c3 across the street, George?
There is.
Oh.
And the ones that were records requested, she placed zeros on everything, including the donations that she openly has posted about.
So lies. I kind of feel like you should be wearing the debunk shirt today, not successfully fun employed. And I've got the citizen journalist for What the Hill's News. Well, pretty easy to clear up any of these allegations, which are legally liable for those who are stating them. Even if they say allegedly, even if they say I heard from, pretty easy. I have a clean, clear record. There's nothing on my record except for maybe speeding, but not...
I'm guilty of speeding as well.
Not on North Otter Creek Avenue. As she said, I was doing 65 to 70 miles an hour. Hardcore truth is in the actual physical documents. If any of those documents were actually requested and received, what you will find is I was the largest contributor, the largest giver to that nonprofit organization, as most of the time I gifted all of my salary back to the institution. No money was ever missing. Only money was given. And that creates a huge legal problem for those saying those things.
And she's trying to say that we're threatening her like that. She wants us off the property. She's texting my mom, said something about how she's calling the cops. She's getting us all arrested because we're going at her and we're threatening her and we're trying to, like, I don't know, I guess we're going after her and her daughter. And she said that she wants us to fuck off our property. We need to pack our shit out right now, but we're not staying in anything she owns. We're staying in Lloyd's camper, the old man. He doesn't, like, he's not here right now. He told us he wants us to stay in his camper, which, I mean, she has a key for. She walks in whenever she wants.
Who does this, the family? This is flesh and blood. Who does this?
I don't get it either.
Not to mention, we've already documented how many rug addicts and dealers on the property. And now you're going to hear her say a lot of things about him, which would bring up our total to how many?
To date, that would make 9 known rug addicts
that we know
she
of.
allowed onto the property that we know of.
That we know of. Emphasis that we know of. Now, I know family can be tricky, it can be sticky, it can be icky and gooey, and it can be a problem. But family's still family. You don't do this. Now, in my family, we don't kick each other off each other's properties. We ignore each other. If there's an issue, we just go, we're not dealing with your drama. Deal with your drama on yourself. When the drama's all done, then we'll get back together. How do you do it in your family, George?
I've never been threatened to be kicked off of the property, especially where I'm residing. I've never threatened to kick any of my family members or loved ones off of my property. I've never even used the word property until I moved to Otter Creek.
Now we say property.
Now we say property.
Beautiful property.
Or we'll say 70 acres or the old schoolhouse. Even then I hardly use the word property.
Our beautiful schoolhouse. We always preface property now with beautiful.
But there's, like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. I figured I'd call you guys because I ain't getting in trouble for no threats or like that because she says I'm unstable. She's the one who has a gun on her head always, and she takes over the amount of Xanax than she's supposed to.
What are you hearing from Landon in this?
Wow. He even addresses to the sergeant that his own grandmother always has a firearm to his hip, which indicates that he too is afraid that she may pull it out at any time on him.
Fearful of his grandmother and the misuse of medications he's saying as well.
Right, which aligns with the story that he
two.
shared with you. So he's sharing the same story that he shared with the sergeant, that he shared with you.
Absolutely.
That she's overdosing herself
Absolutely.
on anxiety meds and is accusing him of as the reason for doing it.
He has all the same fears we do, and this has been a horrific life experience for us. And many have asked, how can we help? How can we be supportive in this? And one of the things that George and I are entering into is a new venture. We are actually going to start live auctions on Whatnot. Whatnot is a great app. It's incredible for treasure hunting, and we're going to share a lot of our treasure hunting finds with all of you. And that's one of the ways that all of you watching can be supportive and help fund our fight. We are at $180,000 so far in legal fees.
Can't believe this.
It's horrific. There's no end in sight of how far it could go. But with selling all of the treasure that we find to you, not only do you get a souvenir from What the Hales, but you help fund the fight and to save the child, save the residents of Otter Creek, and save all the animals. We're going to share our Whatnot links in the pinned comment and the description. And you can get $15 free, absolutely free, to use anywhere on the app. You can be a treasure hunter just like us and own some of our treasure hunting as we fight the corruption and the insanity of what's going on in Otter Creek with our bad neighbors.
Signing up for Whatnot is for free.
She even said, I'm the reason that she has to take extra Xanax because and it's on video that we have it. I'm the reason she has to take extra Xanax because we stress her out and everything like that. And I was like, so you do admit that you do take extra Xanax?
What I personally believe is that Landon is silently crying out that his grandmother is unstable, carries a firearm, and needs to be Baker Act. This is his silent cry for help, asking the sergeant and pointing out certain things that she needs to be Baker Act.
But it's not silent. He's making it very verbal, to the point of even contacting us, which LIEnette claims to him is the enemy.
Because she was trying to say that I'm an alcoholic and I'm this, I'm that, and I was like, I don't even care.
Yeah. Well, if you've established residency there, she's going to have to either go to the courthouse, legally evict you, or get an unlawful detainer on you. Either way, she's got to go through the civil process to do that.
More legal issues for LIEnette with her own family? This isn't a first, right?
No, not at all.
She
And this
actually
probably will not be the last either.
She evicted her daughter, and her daughter got an injunction on her to keep her away from all of her kids. I mean, this just goes on and on. LIEnette is in court in Ohio. She has a civil protection order. She is willingly, knowingly, multiple times has actually violated it and broken it. And Crook has been the same. Now, the one positive thing we can say with Crook being released from jail, he spent 40 days in jail. And by the way, we got clarification on why he was actually released. Crook was released not because the 40 days equates to the amount of 10% of the bond. It's because the state didn't file anything within that 40 days as they're waiting for the victims to come back to Florida to file the actual charges. That doesn't mean Crook is relieved of anything. But every time you've driven by, what has Crook done thus far?
I do drive to and from the schoolhouse, and
Because that's the way.
And I do record for my own safety and my own protection. And he has looked at my vehicle, but then he'll look down or turn around and go the other way. He'll ignore me, which is what should have been done from the moment the protection order was granted.
Now, they should have never attacked us or any of the residents of Otter Creek. They should have never used all these hate pages. And those that are continuing on these hate pages, those who are continuing to try and gain a following based off of the hate, let's face it, they are the exact same type of people that LIEnette and Crook are. Okay, you have known rug addicts that are for Crook and LIEnette. You have known rug dealers that are for Crook and LIEnette. You've got individuals that are so disgusted with who they are, they won't even show their faces. They're leeches. And they somehow think this is okay for a child. This isn't okay for any child. Now, if Crook and LIEnette want to live this way, that's on them. Leave everybody alone. But they didn't. But a child who can't defend herself.
Especially a child that allegedly has this life-threatening disorder, but they're living in squalor. It's kind of contradicting.
Very much so, to the point where we were just on a conversation this morning where the Attorney General is now getting involved in the state of Florida because DCF is not doing their job appropriately. Now DCF is under investigation.
Okay, that works.
All right, and I will call her and tell her the same thing.
Alrighty, thank you.
All right, sir.
Alright, bye.
And now for the phone call with LIEnette. Keep in mind everything she says about Landon, and yet she's okay with this child, with a person like this living on the property.
Knowing that this was his history and his background, she still invited him to come live on her property to be around the child.
I'm shocked she didn't say I invited him. Like, she said that I invited Jamster to live on the property to
that
come.
Was already pre-planned.
Oh my goodness, the timelines, the receipts, the screenshots, and the fools that want to defend her. You can't defend against truth. Truth defends itself, and these calls are the reality. Regardless if she goes on another program or says something to somebody else, she runs to Channel 20 and lies to them after she told the truth to the Levy County Sheriff.
Every time she
Hid
tells
the firearm.
her story, she just continues to contradict herself, making herself a proven liar.
Levy at 832. Hello.
LIEnette, what can I help you with?
Who am I speaking with?
This is Sergeant Kinnick.
Oh, hi. I'm just trying to find out if there has been any calls to my property. I'm having problems with my grandchildren. They're leaving Friday, but this morning has been very abusive towards me, and I got scared, and they said they were calling the sheriff on me because his girlfriend is a psychotic individual.
Isn't this interesting? Can we say pot calling the kettle black? What are your thoughts, George?
She's stating she wants to know if calls were made about her from her own property.
So this is the exact same thing she always tries to do. Jump out in front of it, and she actually ends up incriminating herself. So the same thing we did when we announced that we were going to get a civil protection order against her. She calls the courts, and then she goes public with a video saying it's all lies. She illegally recorded the conversation because she was in Florida, which she cannot legally record. It's a all-party consent state. If she would have been in Ohio, she can record, which, by the way, when I record those conversations, I'm in Ohio, which is a one-party consent. I give the consent, therefore I can record. So she's calling Tyra psychotic? Explain this to me.
Interesting. When did she become... Oh, apparently she's a doctor now.
She is a lawyer, electrician, and a doctor.
I think electrician was my favorite.
Okay, that one was pretty good. If she was an electrician, why didn't she fix everything?
Well, that explains why it's all screwed up.
Well, that would be why they have no electric right now. But do you think Tyra's in fear?
I think all three adults were definitely in fear. Again, Landon told the sergeant that she carries a firearm on her hip at all times.
Has a
Clearly
key
has
to the camper.
Has a key to Lloyd's camper, can go in there anytime she wants.
Abusing rugs.
She's got anxiety over the roof.
Over the roof!
Not in those words, but she's over-medicating herself because she's unhinged.
But calling the girl psychotic.
And is saying that she's afraid. LIEnette is claiming she's afraid.
Here's the biggest question. She turns on everyone that she's ever aligned with or
really
associated
does.
with. So Crook, we've seen all the horrific things she said about Crook. Lloyd, we've seen, now she's making allegations against Lloyd with the child, okay? We've got her own grandchildren.
And Waylon. She
Yes.
said Landon and Waylon
Absolutely.
did something to the child.
She's-
in Walmart,
she's-
during daylight.
yeah. She's turned on Shart once. No doubt, Will, again, she's turned completely and totally on Jamster.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't
The
even know
step-
what her middle name was.
The godmother.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a bet. Who wants to guess when she turns on Deuce? When she turns on anyone else? When?
She turned on the biological grandmother,
Yep.
who has custody of two of the biological siblings of
Claimed
the child.
the grandmother was a rug.
And was her best friend.
But also claims that is Crook. And now you're going to hear she's going to claim the exact same thing of Landon.
Her own grandson.
Wow. I'm saying under a month before she turns on all of these individuals.
They just think that if they call first, then they're not going to be thrown out. They're leaving Friday.
Well, I explained to him the process that you would have to go through to get them off the property, which is, since they've established residency, you got to legally evict them or go to the courthouse and get an unlawful detainer. If they leave, I reiterated to him what the process was. That's it. So I just spoke to him and told him what you would have to do to legally get them off the property. That's all that was asked.
How many times does Levy County Sheriff have to tell her how to get a rug addict off the property? You'd think she'd have this down pat by now.
Well, not to mention, she's claiming that her grandson, who's underage, 18,
In her care, on her property, under her supervision.
is hitting the booze bottle.
I understand that, but the problem with it is that when there is guns in the trailer they're in, and there is violence, my grandson is violent, and that's why they're leaving.
Whoa.
This was definitely not discussed in current interviews this week.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, it was said that everything was just so great. Oh, we love
But they
each
were
other.
so happy.
We're so
They
happy.
were so happy.
This is the truth.
Because of everything that's happened here since they've been here. So they told me, they're outside laughing, because they told me they called the sheriff on me, and they were having me taken off my property.
No, ma'am,
That's why I'm calling
that
you.
is not what he called about. That was never discussed.
Because I have too many witnesses, my family, people that are all helping me with this Hales crap, that have heard the conversations, they've heard the blow-ups, they've heard the threats to me. That's why they're leaving.
I think I should start charging her for royalties every time she says my name.
She does bring up your name in every report.
Literally, this has nothing to do with me. It is an internal family fight, and she still can't stop saying my name. You know what? That fraudulent lawsuit that she filed for royalties, I think we should file a real one for royalties.
Okay. I would say let them leave, and then you can wash your hands of it.
I am. That's exactly what I'm doing. They got up angry this morning because the power is off. The first thing he thought was that I pulled the plug on the camper. That's what started all of this. And then I asked him to go with me alone to the grocery store so he and I could talk. Because we had an agreement when he came here. He'd go for treatment of alcoholism and drug abuse.
The very thing she claims she keeps the child away from the biological grandmother for. And yet the child lives in it daily with none other than who? John Crook!
And her.
And now Landon! Can this get any more out of control and insane?
It's just crazy to me because that was part of the agreement for Landon to fly from Iowa to Florida. LIEnette knew exactly what his history was. This was part of the agreement.
100%.
And she still allowed him to come on the property knowing his history.
But,
how is this safe around the child?
But won't let biological grandma see the child.
But she moved to Otter Creek to keep her child safe?
Alienation. Alienation. That is a form of abuse.
And that he would get help. And he did not do that. And the girl won't allow him to go anywhere without him. So I said she couldn't go, and she threw a fit. That's what started all of this.
Okay.
But she was calling the police on me. She's terrified of me. I'm going to kill her. It's a game.
It's not a game. And fear is real. We daily live in fear of our lives because these two are so unhinged and nobody knows what they're going to do next. And we truly believe that Crook is on the property right now with firearms. LIEnette's firearms. Tyra had every right to be fearful. You can't tell somebody what they are afraid of or aren't afraid of. And we can clearly communicate we fear them and we fear for our lives. Agree or disagree?
Agreed, which is why it's so important to have the camera rolling for protection purposes.
And so important for all of this information to be shared so that it can't be buried like Shart wanted things buried. An investigative, self-proclaimed investigative reporter telling LIEnette, don't share, don't say. That's not investigation. That's not investigation at all. That's deception.
Well, none of those complaints have come in, Miss Preston.
All right. Well, thank you very much, because I need to leave. I need to go pay my bills.
Yes, ma'am.
So I was waiting here for you. So I guess I won't wait any longer.
Okay.
All right. Thank
thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
There's more police calls. She tells the deputy Crook is an idiot and confirms that Levy County Sheriff took her phone for what, George?
It was part of the search warrant the day that they came and arrested Crook for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Evidence, and she has a new phone number.